Good morning, guys. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's me, Dylan. Thank you for hanging out with me. And it's one of those morning conversation, taking you to work with me, actually. All right. So, what am I going to discuss today? Okay, it's story time again. I didn't start out as if you're a regular to the channel, I didn't start out as like a network engineer. I did not study network engineering. I didn't study for management. That wasn't my background. My background was more into programming. My course is IT related. It's Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology, major in programming, pretty much, or internet technology. Programming. And the funny part there is when it's not the typical. Because back in the Philippines, if you're new to the channel, I grew up in the Philippines, and it's not common to work at the same time finish your degree. The typical path would be usually after you finish your high school, you immediately jump into uni or college, study for another 45 years. Then that's the only time you can get to study, or that's the only time you can look for a job, look for a proper job. But if you do want to work, the most that you can get is like in a food business, like a Macca's or McDonald's, or one of those food chain jobs. But for me, to be honest, I didn't. That was my path initially. Like after high school, I went to college. Started off with a course in mechanical engineering, then moved into IT. But that's another story. There's like a video about that, somewhere, probably from last year. But anyway, so I started working. I did not work for my first proper job. I was teaching IT, computer basics and all that. Then eventually I moved to a non-government organization. It was non-IT related. It was more of like project management. It was more of organizing, giving. It's still into teaching, but it was more into leadership training, organizational management. I was working with a lot of young people like myself. But yeah, there was a point, and I've stayed with this company for like more than 5 years. And there was points in my life where I was asking myself, I was asking God, like, what's the whole point of this thing? Like, why am I doing this? It doesn't match up to what I studied. Like, I want to be in IT. And you might say, yeah, well, Dylan, so why don't you move to IT? Why didn't you move to IT back then when you were like younger, right? So you were already teaching IT, so might as well just leave that company. But though there was a point where I had to make a choice, though, or opportunities that presented itself, but I stayed on. Though I don't remember what was the actual reason. Maybe I was like stuck in a project, or I committed to this one, and practically I really enjoyed it that time. It was so fulfilling. It has nothing to do with IT, but I got to travel a lot. That was like one of the best perks there. I got to meet a lot of people. Then I moved to the US. Then eventually I got into IT. Then that's the time, before the US story, that was the time that I went back to school and finally finished my bachelor's degree in IT. then at the same time I still get to that was an opportunity to work aside from doing like all those youth stuff, to work with servers. And but anyway, then the opportunity came for me to go to the US. So I went to the US, and I was hoping to get another, finally, this is the land of the promise. So I was looking for an IT job, and it wasn't. I was lucky enough to be in the US during the time of the great financial depression, or the crises. So obviously they were like laying off so many jobs, and I ended up working in a donut shop. I was making coffee, I was making croissants in the morning. I would wake up as early as like 4:30, and it was an opportunity for me to have that was my ticket to get a visa. Well, I have so many stories actually. I even worked for a restaurant. I worked for like an assortment of jobs when I was in the US, which is like a typical story for a Filipino who would like migrate in the US without, I wasn't a doctor, I wasn't a nurse, or any of the medical fields. So I worked like I said, an assortment of jobs, even like being a mover. Then eventually I got into another IT job in the same place where I was making donuts and all that. Then I work for Circuit City, which is like an equivalent of Best Buy. That place doesn't exist anymore. Then I was like asking myself, like, why am I? By the way, I became like a store manager when I was working in this donut shop. So I'm still asking myself, why am I being led? Like my passion is into IT. I love learning things, but yeah, I get to go to corporate once in a while. Like half of my day would be into corporate, like fixing computer. I have like a part-time business wherein I get to go to people's homes, but it's still not like full-time IT back then. So I was still asking myself, why am I doing this? Why isn't there like an opportunity for me to really be in corporate and get the job that I want? It's just not there. Then eventually I arrived here in Australia. Went back to school. That's more of that details into another video. I think that was like my channel video, the history of how I become a network engineer. So after 8 minutes of telling all that, what's my point here? What I'm trying to get at? And now I'm a NOC, a network operation manager, network operation center manager, managing a number of network engineers, more specifically support, and sometimes I help out with provisioning. I do training, I do interviews. None of these things I imagined back then. Like I simply wanted to become an engineer. Like now I dream, like I still have dreams or things that I wanted to achieve. But looking back, I realized that, all those little jobs, or the jobs that I have had in the past, they are pretty much a setup. They're like setups. You might think, back then I was thinking I must be a failure because despite of finishing IT, being a programmer, yes, I did a couple of programming here and there, but I didn't have that IT, like that full-time IT job. I was more into management. I was more into teaching people. And deep inside, I was thinking I was like a failure because I'm not getting what I want. And now looking back after how many years, now working on my CCIE, have this couple of certs on my belt. Now everything, I've started to connect the dots now. Like without that experience of teaching, I wouldn't be able to train our engineers. Without that experience of being a store manager, doing the scheduling, I wouldn't be able, because we're running like 7 days a week. So without that experience, I wouldn't know like how to do some scheduling for our guys, or do interviews. And some skills you just don't get trained for it. Sometimes you just learn through experience. And yeah, how about you? Like, are you currently feeling the same way what I felt back then? You might be thinking that nothing's going on, or I finished this but I'm not getting the job that I want, or I'm getting to that age. I've heard a lot of people who say those things sometimes, like I'm reaching that point wherein I'm not young anymore and I shouldn't be earning this much, and I'm still doing this, or I am stuck in this closet / office, doing the things that I don't like. But you might well, in my previous video I keep on saying just do it, just start. And you might say, Dylan, that contradicts what you're saying now, contradicts to what you were saying previously. Like just do it, just start. No, it doesn't contradict itself. What I'm saying is start preparing, get your cert, regardless of what position you are in. Because believe me, I have had interviews wherein I would ask people, so have you done any studying? This was a person interviewing for a network engineer position, and she said, well, I still don't have the job anyway, so that's why I didn't pursue that path. And I was like, well, that was missed opportunity. You had that opportunity to study, but you just didn't go for it because you felt that it wasn't a need. And now the opportunities is like right in front of you. I don't think that's a good approach. So while you're waiting for the opportunity, start learning. Don't stop, don't lose hope, keep on grinding. So when the opportunity comes, you're ready. Okay, it might not make sense to you right now, but eventually, as that famous video from Steve Jobs would say, eventually all the dots will connect. Like, I don't know anybody in history, name me one person in history that said, they stopped midway and they became successful, or they got what they wanted, or they achieved the goal they were aiming for. Nobody. So with that, tell me what you think, guys. Like, leave a comment. Tell me where are you exactly in your journey? Like, do you experience the same thing? Do you feel like you're in a position that you've been doing the same thing over and over, there's no opportunity, and you feel like you're going nowhere? Or can you relate to this one? Or do you have a story to share? So just leave a comment. If you have any questions, if you want me to feature something. It's been a while since I've done a how-to. I have still yet to give my review on the Viptela. I've actually filmed it already, but I think I would have to do a reshoot on that one. With that, I'm gonna leave you. Leave a like if you find this inspirational, and tell this to your friends if they think they need this boost. Tell them about it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And this again, remember, I'm gonna end with this one, and you've been hearing this. If you're a subscriber, keep on studying, be a lifelong learner. Remember, it's so worth it, man. I'm telling you. See ya. Bye.